Hi, Sagittarius. Welcome to your February 2016 General Tarotscope. It's Raina here. So today is the new moon, and this is occurring in your third house in the sign of Aquarius, the same sign as the sun position. And so the third house relates to messages, any kind of communication. The internet is a biggie right now because this is where we're at in terms of how we typically disseminate communications. So you may hear word about something. It could relate to your siblings. There might be a new development there. But the third house is really featured a lot this month because Mercury will enter this house on the 13th of the month. And remember that Mercury was at 1 degree of Aquarius when it retrograded in January. So this will bring it back up to speed, especially a couple days after that when it reaches that 1 degree mark. And symbolically or astrologically, this may be the point where things can fully move forward for all of us because I have a sun in Sagittarius myself. And in the third house, having Mercury there really puts the emphasis of your thoughts on how you communicate. And for those of you who have been thinking about starting a blog, you may be coming up with ideas in the second week of around the 13th. And even now you might want to act on something along those lines with the new moon there. Venus, likewise, will enter this third house a few days later on the 16th of February. And Venus in the third house can indicate finding love online. Or it could mean harmony with your siblings. Peace in your neighborhood. The third house relates to your local surroundings. So there are many possibilities. Venus can bring money. So again, for those who have endeavors on the internet, this is actually very good for that, especially since Mercury has just entered there a few days before and we have this new moon there. So all of this stuff kind of goes together, I would say. Mars has been in the 12th house and will remain there throughout the month of February. And I don't know if my fellow Sagittarius have been feeling this, but I can say that it feels really icky to have Mars in the 12th house because basically Mars is a very active planet. It wants to do stuff. It wants to do physical movements. It wants to make things happen. The 12th house is the house of woo. It's the house of buried issues, past lives, psychic stuff, the house of karma. And Mars has such a difficult time here because it is such a nebulous place. What do you act upon? How can you do physical things with this transit? Well, I would suggest you make sure you're doing yoga or something that is spiritually based, but also moves your body. That might be a nice compromise. But this too shall pass. And in the first week of March, Mars will move into the sign of Sagittarius. And I have a feeling that a lot of us will feel so much more energized in March because of it. Jupiter, still in that 10th house, will be until the fall. And this is the house of career. It is retrograding at this point, but still going to be beneficial for us in the 10th house. And so career matters may see some sort of developments depending on other factors. Saturn in our first house. Saturn in the house of how we are perceived by other people. Also our foundations, including the physical body. So it really would behoove us to develop routines on every level that serve us as we seek to create new structures until sometime in 2017. And we have a full moon in the 10th house of career in Virgo on the 22nd. And so the full moons can sometimes mean endings, but they can also mean a culmination of sorts. So if you've been working on a project at work, or let's say you have been trying to snag a particular client, this may come through for you. Maybe you've been trying to land a book deal or have some sort of raise, and then you find out, yep, it came through. Promotion, I should say, is even more the case. But whatever is happening, this is at the top of the chart. So this may thrust you into the spotlight for some reason in terms of recognition. And that's pretty cool. Okay, Sagittarius. So the card I picked for you during February is the Six of Cups. Now, this could have different interpretations. What it can suggest is that some of you will be in a nostalgic state of mind where you will be thinking about the good old days when things were so much simpler and idyllic. And other people, it might be simply that your children will be in your mind, or they will play some central role in the month of February. Again, we do have the sun going into the 4th house on the 19th of the month, and there will also be an eclipse in this house on March 8th, and sometimes eclipse energy can manifest ahead of time, and this may actually happen sometime in February, especially in the latter part of the month when the sun is there. So I picked a card for the reason that you are being nostalgic, and I got the Queen of Wands. Now, if you are a parent, this could be you, because the queens typically relate to mothers, but obviously it is an energy that's more of the emotional variety versus the king being more of the worldly, universal type of energy. This is more subjective towards the emotions and the personal children. And so this could be you being a fire sign, a wands, caring about loving your children, enjoying them in your life, maybe even grandchildren. But for other people, the Queen of Wands may represent your mother. And it's possible that maybe if her birthday is or was in February, maybe you're thinking about her at this time or dealing with her in some fashion and feeling a lot of nostalgia. This can also relate to anyone who is in the early stages of a romantic affair. And it's the courting where you are getting to know one another, maybe really in love. And likewise, it can indicate somebody who is reuniting with somebody that they were with. And for some of you, that person may be a fire sign or have a lot of fire in their chart, and that's why they are prominent in this reading. The message from the universe is the Tower. And there are some dramatic cards in the spread, and I don't know if some of you have felt this energy so far in the first week of February, but boy, it seems like it's been pretty intense as far as I'm concerned. So hopefully it's not going to continue that way if you have felt this. But this card is certainly a card of shock and something unexpected happening. And I think that in this position, it's really more of a past influence, in the sense that the spiritual message is that this event is what caused you to start thinking about the past. And so I immediately do think of a sudden death, for instance. So if you had a parent, especially a mother, who suddenly died and it's her birthday month, or it just recently happened, that might be why she's on your mind. Or it could have to do with a boss. Maybe you have a female boss who may be good at what she does, but maybe is a bit domineering. And this person has either fired you or has caused some situation to occur that was beyond your control, maybe demoted you. And so you have a yearning for simpler times. Even though the Queen of Wands is in the upright position, I still believe that the qualities that she possesses can sometimes border on oppressive, because she can be a bit of a diva and maybe too controlling in her position. The advice is the Four of Cups. Now, this is the card that relates to ennui, which is like the boredom, the kind of blah feelings that people have when they're not living a life full of passion. And of course, even the happiest people may have these feelings from time to time. I'm almost fairly certain that it's part of the human condition. But I feel that this card is asking you to reflect on how often this is happening in your life. If you have recently gotten fired and it was totally unexpected and represents that Tower card, this period of time when you may be trying very hard to get a new position is also saying to you, are you living your passion? And if not, you're just in survival mode, really. And so these feelings will not go away because you're able to feed yourself and put a roof over your head. You have to really address them. And I get the vibe from this reading that there's a lot of unfinished business and icky stuff underneath the surface. Because the card that crosses us is the Five of Cups, which is related to grief. And grief can come in different forms for different reasons. And sometimes it is just the way it goes that we would not deal with grief at the time that whatever happened, because maybe it was a protective device to move on because we needed to do so in order to survive. But at some point, you have to confront those things. And this is exactly what the triggers to the 12th house are all about, is dealing with buried issues, unfinished business. Right now, we have Mars there. So this can be a time when possibly even through physical activity that we are able to dispel some of this stuff. And why it's so good to kind of research the ways in which stuck energy affects people indefinitely and holistic ways to get rid of it. It could be whether it's asanas in Hatha Yoga or Qigong, Tai Chi, whatever it is that kind of gets rid of that stagnancy, I think is really a good idea. The outcome is the Ten of Swords, and isn't that a feel good? It's definitely a very dramatic card, but I think in this particular reading, it's all about accepting reality, if reality is that you've hit bottom. And this could be in a relationship for sure. Those prior cards, I could see the Queen of Wands being somebody's spouse, a man's wife, a woman's wife. And maybe you've reunited with that person, but you still can't forget the betrayal. Maybe the Tower is that he or she left you and went with somebody else and then wanted to come back to you. And maybe you allowed this person to come back into your life, but you still can't get over what he or she did. And the Ten of Swords is really a card about betrayal, being stabbed in the back. So whatever happened has to be accepted however you choose to accept it, whether it's forgiving, which is something that really can't be done until you feel it within your heart. You can't put it on a timeline. You can't force yourself to do it, but you can certainly look at it from a different perspective, a higher perspective, and not take it personally. And of course, that's easier said than done, but if you want to salvage a relationship, you cannot do so and still have resentments. And the Four of Cups could even be asking you to question whether this relationship, if that's what you are grieving, is even worth salvaging. If you really feel a passion for this person, or if it's just kind of a comfortable habit. But the Ten of Swords is really about hitting bottom, and because 10 is the end of a cycle, it really does suggest that the worst is over. So, and yes, that is putting a positive spin on it, but I think that a lot of times people see that dramatic picture and they don't realize that the worst is over and that you can only go up from that point. And it's important to be able to see those times when this is the case, because then you can renew yourself once again in a new cycle and be on a positive upswing. So Sagittarius, I hope you enjoyed your reading. If you'd like something personalized using your astrological data along with the tarot, just click on the link below. Take care. Bye.